are some fun beats. All this awesome royalty-free music stuff I'm sharing in the links so that you can enjoy it too if you want. Um, some of it's actually pretty good. I don't know what I was expecting, but we are now heading into conspiracy land. I'm going to make myself small. What's the sound effect? Cruising around the internet, and I come across the 12 Keys of Basil Valentine. And I see that it is a widely reproduced alchemical book attributed to Basil Valentine. It was first published in 1599 by Johann Told, who is likely the book's true author. And actually, that is still debated today as to who actually wrote it. And there's two different books from like a long time ago, and each one has proof that, no, Basil Valentine was a real person, or no, Johann Told was. Anyway, so, well, who the hell is Valentine? Who is this guy? What is this? The 12 keys. Like, doesn't that sound like crazy? Like the 12 keys, like, like it sounds like, I don't know, it sounds like magic, right? So, he was a, that doesn't say anything about him. I did not open a thing. I opened the wrong thing. Okay. So, I just want to read about him. So he was a Benedictine monk who was known for his achievements in the chemical sphere. He was given the title of Father of Modern Chemistry, but people say, oh, hey, wait up a minute, that's not true. Many and varied are accounts of his life. Historians are unable to quite agree as to his exact identity or even the century in which he lived. It is generally believed, however, that 1394 was the year of his birth, and that he did actually join the Benedictine Brotherhood, eventually becoming canon of the Priory of St. Peter at Erfurt near Strasbourg, even though these facts cannot be proved. Whatever his identity, Basil Valentine was a great chemist and originator of many chemical preparations of the first importance. Apparently, he discovered spirit of salt, or hydrochloric acid, as we know it by. Oil of vitriol, sulfuric acid, which is what we know it by. He was able to do all this stuff. He kept track of it. He wrote it down. We still have some of his writings. But interestingly, and him, much like the other guy we talked about yesterday, which was, who were we talking about yesterday? Oh my God. It'll come to me. I can't believe it. My brain just totally went blank. He kind of straddled the line between metaphysics and science, obviously, because he believed in alchemy, and he also believed that there could be some sort of fusion of the physical and the metaphysical along with the body, the soul, and elements or something. I know I don't quite have that right, but it was a pretty wild time. I mean, discoveries were being made like all the time. Like, oh, look what this does. Oh, look what this does. Because society had stabilized enough that these things could happen. So there is no evidence of such a name, blah, blah, blah. This goes on about how whatever. And the 12 Keys of Basil Valentine is a widely reproduced alchemical book attributed to Basil Valentine, first published in 1599, which would be impossible if he was born in 1394. It contains two parts, the second of which houses the 12 keys. These were accomplished by woodcut engravings from later publications in the early 17th century. This goes on about it. We'll come back to that. So these are the 12 keys. I have a little bit of explanation, but I wanted you to see the higher quality 12 keys. So we have this one. I apologize for it puts a plus sign over his thing. Okay, so we have these two guys, and we have the, what do you call those? Codex, codices, coda. I don't know. Someone help me out here. But before I continue, let me preface this by saying, again, I am not an expert. This is all stuff I'm learning for the first time. As I learn it, I'm sharing it with you. Things might be pronounced wrong. I might interpret things wrong. Feel free to correct me as much as you want. I can take it. Just don't be mean. That's all. Just don't be mean to me or to each other. So this guy is doing something, I don't know. We're just going to go through them quick so we can look at them. We have a dragon. That's interesting. They kind of remind me of tarot cards or astrology, right? Astrology tarot cards, kind of. Oops. Well, that's a weird one. One lion's eating the other lion's face. What's up with that? Lots of lions. I love lions, so I like to see that. But so this goes into, and it'll be in the links, goes into which ones, what they say. But the first one, let my friend know that no impure or spotted things are useful for our purpose, for there is nothing in their leprous nature capable of advancing the interests of our art. There is much more likelihood of that which is in itself good being spoiled by that which is impure. Everything that is obtained from the minds has its value, unless indeed it is adulterated. Adulteration then spoils its goodness and its efficacy. As the physician purges and cleanses the inward parts of the body and removes all unhealthy matter by means of his medicines, so our metallic substances must be purified and refined of all foreign matter in order to ensure the success of our task. Therefore, our masters require a pure, immaculate body that is untainted with any foreign admixture, which admixture is the leprosy of our metals. Let the diadem of the king be of pure gold, and let the queen that is united to him in wedlock be chaste and immaculate. And it goes on. It goes on, talks about wolves, the planet Mars. It really, this whole thing, it's freaking wild. It's really wild. This is just the first one, and it sounds like he's saying that if you have an impure spirit, then you can't do the alchemy required to create gold or whatever it is that you're trying to create out of other things, I think. But it's interesting to think about. Now, we're just going to go to the next one, and then I'll let you go through the rest on your own. In the houses of the great are found various kinds of drink, of which scarcely two are exactly like each other in odor, color, or taste. For they are prepared in a great variety of different ways. Nevertheless, they are all drunk, and each is designed for its own special use. When the sun gives out his rays and sheds them abroad upon the clouds, it is commonly said that he is attracting water. And if he do it frequently and thereby cause rain, it is called a fruitful year. If be intended to build a palace, the services of many different craftsmen must be employed, and a great variety of materials is required. Otherwise, the palace would not be worthy the name. It is useless to use wood where stone is necessary. The daily ebb and flow of the sea, which are caused by the sympathetic influence of heavenly bodies, impart great wealth and blessing to the earth, for whenever the water comes rolling back, it brings a blessing with it. And it kind of goes on. And there's all 12 of them. It has the explanation of which key means what. So let's go to Reddit real quick. There's not really a discussion about it much, which kind of bummed me out. I was kind of hoping for like a real, like really freaking going into it. But for selfish reasons, so I could understand it better. But you can still read what is there. What is there is quality stuff by people who know what they're talking about, certainly more than me. This is posted by Sleeping Monads, and this picture has been colorized, and you can kind of see it a little bit better. So there's the wolf. Just kind of wild stuff, right? So the Philosopher's Stone, which is what this guy was aiming for with the 12 keys. So I think he was using the 12 keys to create the Philosopher's Stone. So the Philosopher's Stone is a mythic alchemical substance capable of turning base metals such as mercury into gold or silver. It's also called the elixir of life, useful for rejuvenation and for achieving immortality. For many centuries, it was the most sought after goal in alchemy. The Philosopher's Stone was the central symbol of the mystical terminology of alchemy, symbolizing perfection at its finest, enlightenment, and heavenly bliss. Efforts to discover the Philosopher's Stone were known as the magnum opus, or great work. And it talks about the Philosopher's Stone, which is cool because this idea has inspired a lot of like movies and writings, and ideas that there's this substance. And it's interesting to note that where the terracotta army was found, there is a river of mercury near there that's like buried, that cannot be like safely uncovered. They haven't figured out a way to kind of get to it without poisoning every single person that comes in contact with it. Kind of interesting. That's another place I think I would love to go if I could teleport myself. I wouldn't want to fly. It's like way too long. I don't think I could be on a plane that long. So the theoretical roots outlining the stone's creation can be traced back to Greek philosophy, and it talks about different cultures' approach to this sort of same idea and how it has progressed through the years. So this guy, this Basil Valentine guy, had these keys, and I don't know how they were possibly wielded, or I don't know, but we're going to read a little bit more. We're coming to the end. Basil Valentine was a mysterious chemist, philosopher, and alchemist. Few details of the life of Basil Valentine are known. He has been placed in both the 15th and 16th centuries. And 1394, when he was supposedly born, his name may have been a pseudonym. Whoever he was, the writings attributed to him exhibit a profound knowledge of chemistry, medicine, and alchemy. According to some, he was born in Mayence, Germany, and by 1413 was a Benedictine monk at St. Peter's in Erfurt. He was made prior in 1414. He distinguished himself with his knowledge. He was openly he was openly contemptuous of the physicians of his time, and that's because they did dumb crap like stick a bunch of leeches to someone's face, and he was like, what? Like, that's not medicine. Like, he was on the same page as the other guy I was talking about in the last thing I did, who I still can't remember. Oh my god. Okay, I swear I'm not dumb. I'm trying to remember it. I'm gonna have to go look. So, according to legend, this is the part I wanted to read. According to legend, Valentine sealed 21 of his writings inside a stone pillar of his abbey. They were thought to be lost until a thunderbolt shattered the pillar. Supposedly, heavenly powers wished the words to be made known, and the pillar supposedly closed up again of its own accord when the manuscripts were removed. No original manuscripts have ever been found. There's some, I guess, gaps in there in the provenance of anything that Basil Valentine has been associated with. It says he healed people. It goes on a little bit more, the stuff that he did. And he says that a philosopher, the alchemist, the person that's doing the alchemy, must understand the truth of all truth. That there be a metallic soul, a metallic spirit, a metallic body, and that there must be a metallic mercury, a metallic sulfur, and a metallic salt, which can of necessity produce no other than a perfect metalline body. If you do not understand this, that you ought to understand, you are not adapted for philosophy, or God concealeth from thee. So it's considered to be Kabbalistic, magical, and hermetic all at the same time, and it goes into sacred geometry, the different keys and the drawings and the way they're set up. Interesting to think about, right? This is just some background stuff I'll include, and it provides proof of who Basil Valentine is. This is the other one that provides proof of who he was, but each one of those articles says different things, so I don't know. This looks like a podcast that someone did, and so I guess if you wanted to listen to it, let's make sure the voice isn't annoying, because there's nothing worse than that, right?
To dig into that past and look at.
Okay, yeah, we can deal with that. Thank you to History of Alchemy podcast, right? So you could listen to that and maybe learn a little bit more about the subject from someone who is more educated than myself on the topic. This has some more on Basil Valentine. This summarizes everything in a whole page if you don't want to scroll, bit by bit. Some people like to read, click. Some people like to see the whole thing. I'm a fan of the whole thing myself, but I read very quickly, which is a very, very useful skill, I gotta say. So with that concludes that concludes episode 12. I can't believe it. We're moving on to episode 13. What's next is silent mouse and keyboard, better lighting. Not sure what else. Um, but I'm going to play this song at the end here. If you could, if you could just like this guy's song, I had an interaction with him. He's a cool guy. I think he would like all of a sudden 3 years later got a whole bunch of likes on this song. He'd be like, "What the?" Because as you can see, it hasn't gotten a lot of love, and I'm actually quite fond of it, and I listen to it a lot. And maybe those views are probably maybe all mine, but I don't think he would mind me sharing it because maybe someone else will dig it too and be like, "Wow, it's a cool song." It's French, so if you don't speak French, you're not going to understand it. I don't really understand it. He catch a word here and there, but for the most part, I don't. I did take 5 years of French. Um, that is a true story. Um, I can speak a little bit of Spanish, but not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. I'm not very talented. I can read fast, not talented with language acquisition, like not even a little bit. So I feel like I should finish off with something before before I close. Something funny or something interesting. Um, real quick story time. The really rich guy that I work for a long time ago decided that he wanted a this particular rock in his garden, and this particular rock was going to come from the bottom of the Yangtze River. Now you might say, well, what do you mean? I don't understand. When the when the Ming Dynasty was overthrown, all of the items that were like that represented material wealth were destroyed. Like the temples were destroyed, the houses were destroyed, and it was very important to the Ming Dynasty. Those gardens that you see with the stones, and the stone this way is strength, and then this way means something else with the sand. You know what I'm talking about. Well, those stones got pushed into the river by the angry people who were like, "What, you're hogging all the money. What the heck?" So they pushed the stones into the river. So this guy that I worked for wanted one of those stones. Okay. Found out it's not quite exactly legal to get those stones and to transport those stones, but somehow he made it happen. I was not involved in this particular transaction, so I don't know the finer details. But I do know that the stone came and it was huge. It's massive. It's like the size of a car, maybe stood up on its side and or on its like front, like, like up down like this. And it had to be strapped in order to be moved. And there was like a natural sort of patina on the rock. And the straps had rubbed off the patina. So, anyway, long story short, there was this big unveiling. The guy comes up. They, pull off the sheet and he looks at the rock that he spent $1.5 million roughly to get. And he looks at it and he goes, "Those straps have destroyed the patina. This rock is worthless to me. Forget about it. File an insurance claim." He had an insurance claim for $2,000, $2 million. So he made $500,000 on a rock that was shipped from China. But the best part of the story is, and this is where I'm going to finish off before I play this guy's song, is that there was a large population of Guatemalans that worked on this particular property. And they were told by Rick, the house manager, and I apologize if I've told this story before, but it's so good, right? By Rick, the house manager, that it was a love rock, and it was kept in a barn. Like, it was in a barn next to like the forklifts and the cranes and stuff. And Rick said, if you touch it on a Friday, you'll get lucky. And so the Guatemalans would line up on Friday on payday and they would touch the rock on their way out. I mean, admittedly, you did have to like walk by it, but I mean, they didn't have to reach out and touch it as they went by, but they did. Every single one of them, as they walked by with their paycheck, would touch the rock. So I always called it the Guatemalan love rock, and I thought that that was an interesting kind of thing. So that's my story. Again, I apologize if I told it before. Um, when I do this, I kind of, go into the zone. So it's possible I do repeat myself. I apologize for that. And with that, I hope you have a lovely evening. I'm going to put this song on and I'm going to go get the cat.
Elle me prend la main et je lui dis oui. Fut un lendemain, je mais aujourd'hui. Paupières et faire mes amis chemin. Ciel du midi clair, elle me prend la main. Quand tu me réponds, c'est que j'aime entendre. Nos lèvres se frôlent et nos bouches se fendent. Un été qui dure une décennie. Un prénom qui rime en mélancolie. Perdu dans les annales de mes jours. Collé dans le collage de mes amours. Agrafé à jamais dans mes souvenirs. Des photos de toi qui m'ôtent le soupir. Quand tu me tiens et que tu me dis que l'on s'appartient, que c'est pour la vie, que tu fais confiance à notre avenir. Il n'y a que l'amour pour nous faire souffrir. 10 ans de ces mots et de tes yeux bruns. Une décennie d'absence plus loin. Toujours si perdu sur le même chemin. Je reviens sur hier depuis le lendemain. On reste figé l'un regardant l'autre. Comme hypnotisé, proie devant le fauve. Allongé comme ça toute l'après-midi. Chacun s'est donné l'autre comme défi. Face à face les